got it in terms of the furniture and the architecture, the simple beauty that is made to serve. That it has a function and it's beautiful at the same time, and that really is a true expression of the worlds.
Do you mean that the beauty of the furniture is is a kind of prayer, put you into the spirit world? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm just channeling something. No, I'm just really understanding. The shaker consciousness.
It seemed to me that
and the letting go of the physical.
their whole awareness of the physical aspect of
The
furniture
body.
was they didn't want this furniture that they were creating to be a distraction for people in their focus in their lives. And tell me to shout out if I'm going in the wrong direction, Jerry.
Yeah.
But it's the whole feeling of a beautiful, simple, but functional chair that will make you feel comfortable and relaxed, and you will be able to sort of be more receptive to what's going on around
But
the
not too
world.
relaxed.
Well, no. Yeah.
Keeps you
Until the Victorian era, and then everything got relaxed.
Yeah.
But that's why I find it fascinating how the earlier furniture was a little cruder, and then all of a sudden got extremely refined. And then in the late 19th century, all of a sudden Victorianization or popularization came in a little bit to get people to look at them in a little more open way. And we have some of those pieces in the collection. You look at it and go, what is that? When you realize it's a piece of furniture that they were just transforming for visitors to come and sit on and not scare them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting to me and what we're talking about is the sense of the visual in everything we're talking about. That there is a circle with a candle in the middle. That the spirit is described by how they look. That there are maps of the spiritual Mount Lebanon hovering in the universe above. That's one of the gift drawings, I believe.
Above the existing.
Above, yeah, there is a second Mount Lebanon that lives up in the heavens. But a lot of the gift drawings were maps of gardens. That even in this room, a lot of these are. It's the visualization of ideas that is so strong. I don't know where that's leading, but it is either. Some of it's sort of giving voice to these spirits, like songs and things like that, but so much of it is giving a kind of appearance.
I think it's very interesting. It's a particular aspect, but mysticism has an extremely long life. The whole series of Christian mystics that were seeing all kinds of things happening, experiencing all kinds of things. And even in the ancient world was full of mystics, oracles and so forth. So it's really a continuum of these ways in which people, when they're in a particular frame of mind, things come to them and they can feel to be very real. And I think a number of the psychologists have gone into these questions very much. Jung, for instance, would have a lot to do with his explanation of spiritual manifestations. And the other thing, of course, is that it's rather notable that a large number of these events occur amongst young girls. Not only young girls at the Shakers, but the Catholics, and Fatima, the young girls, Bernadette, young girls. These younger people are in a particularly susceptible mind state for these manifestations or these parts of their imagination to express themselves. And then, of course, there are other people.
But it doesn't stop with them. So that's
it doesn't stop with them, but those are very notable. They're very notable. The other thing, of course, is the Conan Doyle. Conan Doyle got interested in this when his much beloved son died, and he was very, very anxious that he should become able to have contact with him. So there's a lot of kind of sort of wish fulfillment in his approach to spiritualism. And he was obviously, as in a lot of other ways of wish fulfillment, is very, very important in our behavior. This dominated a large part of his life, as you say. So it's, someone who could be a skeptic for the reality of things flying up. There are also explanations for how these things can happen. And without being very unkind to you, I'm sure that a lot of what you experienced was because you had a very strong emotional feeling. So you were in a particularly emotional state of mind.
You could say that.
That's the kind of way in which these things.
Now, the spiritualists would say that that's the state of mind you want, because you want to be able to feel what's around you. The spiritualists would say, look in this room and see lots of spirits all over the place, and hanging around all of you.
Right.
And they feel they have a special gift, and sometimes it becomes overwhelming to them because they see things you're unaware of, and it's driving them nuts. But one person stood up for science. That's Harry Houdini. And he battled. They went and battled all over the country between Doyle and Houdini. This was the team. Can you imagine? Wouldn't that be a great movie? Really? They fought up and down because
In the same room? I mean,
yeah, they did. They went nuts.
I never would have put that together.
Well, that was Houdini's mother died, and he was very close to her. And then when he died, he said, "I will come back if there is a way."
But he hasn't. And his wife did seances for years.
She pushed it.
Yeah, she did. She pushed it. Well, what meaning do you all think the fact that this spiritualism was embraced by the Shakers, became a movement in America, has by no means the same hold on America as it once did, but still is very much alive and well? There are lots and lots of spiritualist churches. I have learned you can go on the web and see them all. What does it mean for us? What meaning do we
I
take?
think we have to get someone who's really a psychologist, a psychoanalyst. I think we want to be outside the horrible events that are often happening, and we can kind of take our minds so that it leads us out of them. And I think that's the kind of basis. It's you might say in a lot of crude senses, in a wide sense, it's a wish fulfillment.
So you think of this other world, the other side, as a happier world?
Well, yes. I don't think many people thought this was a horrible world. They want to have
There's no heaven. There's no hell here, but there's no heaven either.
well, you see, but the hell is always put in contrast to the heaven. Dante went to 3 places. And so there's not just hell on its own. It's always in contrast to heaven.
Okay, but you're wanting an explanation for this, is what you're wanting an explanation.
Well, my explanation of it is something which is in our minds. We want certain things. We want to move out of some things which are not particularly real, not necessarily in the sense of pain, but in the sense of how we are and how we live and aspects
So it's
of
a
our
kind of
life.
mirror on our needs.
Yes, exactly.
What do other people think? Would
But
you
I
agree with
think
that?
it's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but the
Just cut to the chase.
I mean, this is how I think someone a psychologist would view it.
But doesn't it depend how it manifests itself? I mean, to the extent that an individual is hearing rapping, or hearing sounds, or things like that that aren't connected with a person, it might represent one thing. For example, someone's looking for another place.
Yeah.
But if someone's connecting with someone who has died, for example, then that goes back to what you were saying earlier about wish fulfillment and about connecting with a person. So I think there are different objectives depending upon, you know, whether you're looking for a place or you're in an unhappy moment and there's another world out there that can make you feel better or different. And then it's about people.
Yeah. No, I think it's, you know, it's a whole complexity. Our minds are.
I was struck in the readings material that we had how I guess Baptists in various areas were pulled away from the church and went to the Shakers. I grew up in the South in Birmingham, and my grandparents were Baptist, and we grew up going to church, but I was raised as a Methodist. You mentioned Billy Graham. I went with my grandmother once to a Billy Graham rally in Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama, where the University of Alabama would play football games.
This was in Alabama?
Yes, in Birmingham. Probably in about, I don't know, 1970, 72. But reading this material, knowing what little I know about the Shakers, knowing something about the Bible Belt, having grown up in that culture, and attended church services where there's this palpable sense of wanting to connect, you know, beyond the room that you're in. I'm struck by how people are, I guess, naturally still looking for that in whatever way they can find it, based on the region they live in, based on whatever connection they make, and how also, depending upon the leaders of either the Baptist Church or the Shakers, how you get drawn to either one, you know, what makes you buy into that. So I enjoyed learning about that.
I think the idea of wish fulfillment, but not thinking of it as a conscious wish, but just a kind of animal or human or spiritual need that you may not even be aware of, that is a need. It's a need to connect. For some reason, you mentioned being in India, and I was thinking of those wonderful drawings of the chakras and, you know, things like that. Everybody's trying to connect to, you know, the Jungian idea, the kind of mind that connects us all as individual minds. And I think some of these just unconscious desires, even, you know, young women in a very rigid society, a Waterloo community among Shakers, had to have had some kind of need. That's need fulfillment, really, wish fulfillment. And I think that's a very interesting idea. It's almost vibrational rather than, you know, conscious thought.
Some people, well, you're very productive. Like, St. John of the Cross, you know, who was a mystic, wrote wonderful things about, they describe it as their love poems. Do you remember St. John of the Cross? St. John of the Cross. He wrote love poems to Christ. I mean, and he spent all his largest part of his life in a small cell in Berlin, I think. Of course, he fasted. Essentially, then, of course, when people are very much fasted, short of food, then they tend to get that the imagination tends to be more vivid, more vigorous, and that's one of the reasons why the mystics and so forth spend such a lot of time fasting. It put them into it affected the structure of the chemicals and so on in the brain.
Well, I have a question about our saying that the explanation for this is either psychological need or spiritual need or fear of loss or whatever. And the concern I have is once we say that, are we saying that there's something suspect about it?
No.
Or are we saying it is simply a human need like love and sex
That can be
and
accepted.
design?
I would say it's a human need.